What's up, Oilers Nation? Happy Sunday, happy game day. Tyler, your Chuck Caroline here with you. Tyler, what's going on your end?
Oh, not much. I'm happy to be back on a pregame show. The guys did a great job filling in for us last week, but I'm happy to be doing this again. And the Oilers are winning. They got a 3-game winning streak going. Life is good.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I don't know if I want to call it a little bit of a scary game, but maybe a very exciting, entertaining game against the St. Louis Blues, obviously getting the job done 6-5 in overtime. Tyler, they're not always the prettiest wins. They're not always, a for sure win for the Oilers, but the boys got it done. And that was like I said, a very exciting game to watch.
Yeah, it was a really exciting game to watch. It shouldn't have been that exciting when you consider the start the Oilers got off to, right? And you would have liked to see them find a way to close that out. Like early on, I tweeted about it. St. Louis was turning pucks over just left, right, and center. Like it was crazy. Those first sort of 3 goals for the Oilers all came off of the Blues turning over like 3 or 4 pucks in a row in their own end. It was wild. And then you kind of sit there and they're up 4-1. You're going, okay, well, there's really no way that they blow this thing, right? And then lo and behold, they find a way to blow this thing, and it goes to overtime, even though it really had no business getting there, which is unfortunate.
It's so funny, Tyler, that first period, I was, Tyler, you're big in the air fry community. So I was making a chicken burger. And I'm looking at the score in the first period is 4-1. And I'm like, oh man, this is in the bag. Like this is a breeze. There's nothing to worry about. I can, put all my energy into these chicken burgers. And the next thing you know, I'm watching the TV. I'm like, are we going to lose this game? Like what happened? But at the end of the day, like I said, these games happen and the boys still found a way to get it done. And someone who was instrumental in that win, Connor McDavid, scoring 2 important goals on the night, leading the league with 102 points and 23 points in his last 12 games. This guy is a captain and leads this team by example 100% of the time.
Yeah, and I think he's starting to maybe recognize that these games are getting more and more important. You saw he let out a big yell against LA when he scored the shootout winner. He scored that first goal and he was smiling. He was fired up. And even after the OT winner, I thought it was hilarious the way McDavid is like smiling, almost laughing, and Draisaitl is just stone cold. Just goes right into the little huddle like he didn't even care. It's like they didn't even win the game. But McDavid's been real fired up as of late, and that's fantastic. You love seeing it, and he's playing some great hockey. March McDavid is now bleeding into hopefully April McDavid.
I love that. All right, Oilers fans, let us know what's going on in the chat. I don't have anything going on right now in the Facebook chat, and that's very unusual for Oilers Nation. So you guys, say hello. Let us know what you think. We can start the conversation now on Zach Hyman. 2 big goals for Zach Hyman as well. 3 goals in his last 3 games. And a guy that, despite how he plays, sometimes he's went into this like a little bit of a slump. One thing you cannot take away from him is how hard he works and his work ethic on the ice. And I think that's probably my favorite part about Zach Hyman's game.
Yeah, you're right. He's been a bit of a streaky scorer, but similar. And this is what I like about the mix the Oilers have up front. A guy like Yamamoto, guys like Hyman. Even when they're not scoring, they're working so hard, right? They're forcing turnovers. They're hard to play against. And that's what you like to see. Guys like McDavid and Draisaitl, for the most part, they're always going to be able to consistently bring you that offense. But if you can have players who, yes, when they score and they get going, they're real hard to stop. Hyman's up to 24 goals on the year. That's wild. I looked that up and I was like, oh man, it doesn't feel like he's on the cusp of being a 25, 30 goal guy this year. But even when he's not scoring, right, he's driving wide, he's possessing the puck, he's making life difficult for the other team and creating space for guys like Draisaitl and McDavid as well, which is a big part of his role. So 24 goals on the year for Hyman with 12 games to go. Like he could very realistically finish at that 28, 29 goal mark, even though he missed 10 to 15 games this year. It's unreal.
Chris Patterson in the Facebook chat says Hyman is a beast and a stand-up guy all around. I have to agree with that. And he also asks the question, are the Oilers making the playoffs and what goalie are they rolling with? And now, Tyler, this is in my pregame notes. We're sitting third in the division behind the LA Kings and a few points ahead of the Golden Knights. We talk constantly on this pregame show about controlling our own destiny. Right now, in this point in time, are you feeling confident with where we are in the standings and maybe this team's performance?
Yeah, I think when you look at the playoff picture we have up here, it's pretty easy to feel confident in where the Oilers are sitting right now. They're winning a lot of hockey games as of late. Not only are they, beating up against the bad teams, which we've talked about a lot, but you get a win against a team like St. Louis, who is one of the better teams in the conference as well. Like, looking at this picture here, if you win your games in hand, you're going to pass the LA Kings. If you lose your game in hand, you're still ahead of the Vegas Golden Knights. And all of a sudden, it's starting to be a bit of an interesting conversation between the Oilers and Nashville and Dallas. So what that does there, when you have that many teams sitting between yourself and the playoff cut line, is it makes it a lot easier, especially with the loser point existing. It makes it a lot easier to stay up on those teams. There's head-to-head games for all those teams coming down the stretch as well. So I think you have to be really confident in the Oilers' chances of not just making the playoffs, but potentially having home ice advantage when you look at the fact that, again, you win those games in hand, you're going to pass the LA Kings. You own both the important tiebreakers over the LA Kings as well. So I think a lot of the models I check have the Oilers at like 90, 92%. And that feels good right now because if you remember kind of a month ago, beginning of March, it was down at like 50, 52%. So this recent run's been huge.
I remember when we were really struggling, and I think that this was even like maybe towards the end of the Dave Tippett era, and we were all in the office and we're like, are we going to make the playoffs? And we were all, the majority of us were kind of like, we would feel more confident saying no than yes. And here we are, third in the Pacific and hopefully solidifying that playoff position. So the boys have come a long way in the span of like 2 to 3 months. It's crazy to see and crazy to even like understand.
And yeah, we talked about them potentially having home ice advantage. I mean, how about the fact that they've just been so good on home ice as of late as well? Like their home road splits are incredible. They've now won, again, 3 in a row. They've won 9 straight on home ice. And then you go and you look at their last 5 games on the road. They've actually lost their last 5 on the road, which is insane when you consider how successful they've been as a whole. But yeah, 9-5 in their last 14, 9 home wins, 5 road losses. I know there's a couple loser points mixed in there as well, but it's crazy to just look at how good they've been at home and then how many games they've dropped on the road.
Well, hopefully they break that losing streak on the road tonight because obviously we have a big game in Anaheim. We'll get to that in just a second. I want to give Darnell Nurse some love because he finished the game against the Blues with a goal and an assist. And I know that Nurse has been facing a lot of criticism in the media, maybe from some Oilers fans. We know that he's our number 1 D-man and there's high expectations on him because of his contract. But how important was that game, that performance, that goal for Darnell Nurse? The last time he scored a goal was on March 17th for his confidence moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I mean, he's been fighting it now for, not just 1 or 2 games, but it's been 2 or 3 weeks where Darnell Nurse has clearly not been at his best. And I think part of that is he's been overworked. And I think that's something Jay Woodcroft should be looking to change a little bit as we head down the stretch here. But part of that as well is just confidence, right? And I still don't think he had, a great game defensively against the St. Louis Blues. But anytime you score a goal, he racked up 4 hits. He had 3 shots on net. He ended up playing north of 25 minutes, and he actually got an assist on the OT winner as well. There was finally a few good things happening for Darnell Nurse in that game, a few good bounces for Nurse. And I think that's important. Once he starts to get more confident, I'm fairly confident that his game will get back to where it needs to be for the Oilers to be successful in the playoffs, because that is important. Like, he is, without a doubt, their best defenseman and their number 1 D-man. And if he's not rolling for his 26, 27 minutes a game, life is a lot more difficult for the Edmonton Oilers. So getting him back to that high level is important, and I'd like to hope that game against St. Louis was like a step in the right direction for him,
Love it. And quickly, before we move on to our opposition report, let's talk about goaltending. Mike Smith, here's a stat from Zach Lang, our very own Zach Lang, who's awesome. In Mike Smith's last 10 games, including his game against the Blues, Mike Smith has given up 32 goals. We know as an NHL goaltender, it needs to be better than that. And especially if this is a goaltender that we're rolling with into the playoffs, it needs to be better. So at what point in time does the organization look at Mike Smith, the numbers he's putting up, and his performances as of late, and makes a decision based on that?
I mean, it should have been a month ago, right? Out of his last 5 starts, he has 1 with an above league average save percentage. Like, 1 of his last 5, he's been better than league average. We can go through that St. Louis game. The first goal by Buchnevich, it was a wraparound goal. Sure, it's a nice play by Buchnevich, but Smith wasn't even in the right area code on that one. Like, he's laying on his stomach on the far post, barely stretched out as Buchnevich puts it in. That's a bad goal, can't happen. Second one was fine. Third goal, 5-hole off the rush from Braden Shen. That goal can't happen. Fourth one and fifth one, they were fine, but they weren't great goals by any means. Like, he's just not that guy for the Oilers anymore. Like, again, I get that they wanted to try bringing him back and see if they could get the old Schmitty going, the battler, before the start of the playoffs, but that's just very clearly not going to happen. And you have a better option sitting in the American League, but the Oilers refuse to give that a look. So I really do think it's just going to be Mikko Koskinen's net down the stretch. It's going to be Mikko Koskinen's net as we head into the playoffs as well. Like Chris asked that question earlier, who's going to be the goalie for the Oilers? I think they know it's going to be Mikko Koskinen, just even on the way they're giving out the starts right now and the way that they're kind of resting Mikko, but playing him in a lot of the important games. We expect him to get the start tonight on the road. Mikko is clearly their number one. Mike Smith is clearly a well below average goaltender, and that game shouldn't have gone to overtime, and that's right at the feet of Mike Smith.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
absolutely.
I saw people after the game being like, oh, well, the Oilers need to be better as a team. You can't give up 5 goals, but like, they played fine, in my opinion, didn't they?
I mean, I don't want to crap on goaltending, and I don't want to crap on one individual in itself, but goaltenders who make those big saves, that changes the momentum of a game. You need a goaltender who's going to make some of those saves that Mike Smith let in. And unfortunately, sometimes it does come down to a defensive performance. Sometimes it does come down to goaltending. And when you look at Mike Smith's numbers, when you look at his performances, the stats don't lie. And I think that the organization needs to start taking accountability, because as Howard in our chat says, why will they not call up Skinner? It seems so obvious. This is the $1 million question that Oilers fans are asking each other right now. Everyone in the community is wondering, like, okay, Skinner's ready. Skinner's playing well. Skinner had his first NHL career shutout. We haven't seen him since. Yeah. So what's it going to take to get this guy back? And, applaud Mike Smith for everything he's done for this organization, but maybe he needs to take a seat now, respectfully, of course.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And I'm looking in the Twitch chat. Electronic Jordan, can we please give up on Schmitty already? It's just not happening. Skinner's likely the best goaltender in the organization, if not a close to. And the people in the chat are agreeing with that. We're seeing calls for Stuart Skinner here. It really does just feel like everyone can see it. Everyone knows that Mike Smith is just not going to find his game this year in time for the playoffs. So why are you still running out this sort of failed experiment? It's like, people know me, I'm a big bettor. It's like you're sitting at the blackjack table, you get dealt a 12 and you double it. And the next hand you get dealt a 12 and you go, I'll double this one too. And it just keeps happening and you just keep doubling down, and it just doesn't make sense. Statistically, it does not make sense to keep rolling out Mike Smith the way they are. But we've been clamoring for it for 6 weeks now. It's not going to change. Like, Mike Smith is going to get another crack at things down the stretch here. He's probably going to get 3 or 4 more starts in their last 12 games because they'll need to keep Mikko fresh. And I just don't see how any Oilers fan can sit there and be like, you know what? I'm confident in him turning this thing around, because it just doesn't look like he will.
Tyler, I feel like maybe we don't have a pregame. Well, obviously we'll always do our pregame shows, but in addition to a pregame show, we need to do like a goaltender special, because the comments are blowing up about our goaltending situation for the Oilers. And we would love to dedicate like probably 30 minutes straight to this, because there's so much to talk about, but all valid points. And I love how the chat's blowing up. We love when you guys talk with us, but maybe we should think about like a little sideshow down the road, maybe right before the playoffs, based on our goaltending. But one quick comment was from Darren about Nurse, saying that Nurse's defensive play is horrible. Who cares about him scoring goals? And this is what I was talking about with criticism. I do agree. I think Nurse defensively needs to be more sound. However, when we talk about him scoring a goal, him getting an assist, that type of performance can spark a player's confidence. So that's why we were talking about his confidence, and hopefully that elevates his game to another level. We've seen, let's not forget Kyler Yamamoto's performance at the beginning of the season, right? He turned it completely around. It's day and night. So, any player is capable of that, and we like to give credit where credit's due in one area of a player's game on this show and hope for the best. Because at the end of the day, he is our number one demon.
Yeah, and I love that point. Like he is their number one defenseman. When he's struggling, when he's playing well, it doesn't matter the situation. They need Darnell Nurse, and they will need Darnell Nurse to play 27, 28 minutes a game in the playoff and have to be good for that. And I think, yeah, his defensive play hasn't been great. But like you said, it's a confidence thing. Like we know Darnell Nurse has a level that is way better than what he's playing at right now. And I think him getting going a little bit and starting to feel himself, get back that sort of swagger that we know he can play with, that's huge to him being effective in his own end. And the other thing too, like if he's confident with the puck, he's moving the puck out well. If you're getting the puck out of your zone, you're spending less time in your zone. So Nurse being good with the puck is absolutely tied with his defensive play.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we'll move on to our opposition report presented by Burger. Obviously, the boys are in Anaheim tonight, taking on the Ducks, who are third last in the Pacific. They are 1-6-3 in their last 10 games, and they're coming off of a 5-0 win against the Coyotes. The Ducks have a 28-30-12 record at the moment. And Tyler, these are the games that we have to win. It's simple. We're coming off of a big OT win against the Blues, and we got up for that game. Now it's all about carrying that same momentum and energy into this game and breaking that losing streak on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Ducks are not that good of a hockey team right now. They've really been struggling to prevent goals against. John Gibson is a guy who usually had been so consistent, so good for them. How about this number? He's gone 17 straight games allowing 3 or more goals, and he's allowed 4 or more goals in 11 of those as well. Like 17. He's gone basically a quarter of the season allowing 3 or more goals. This Ducks team, basically since they decided to sell off at the deadline, has been just absolutely terrible. They lost 11 or 12 in a row, finally snapped that streak with a win over the Arizona Coyotes, but they needed a game against the Arizona Coyotes to finally get a win. So this Ducks team is just flat out awful right now. They sold off Raquel and Lindholm at the deadline, Manson at the deadline. So that's 3 of their best players gone and out the door. They're not good, and the Oilers have been beating a lot of not good teams recently. They need to, again, not play down to their opponent and just really pedal to the floor, steamroll this Ducks team tonight.
I love the word steamroll. All right, let's head into the lines for the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah, let's take a look at the lines here, just as I quickly pull them up here. No producer Liam, because we're doing this show from home, so it's all on me to pull up the graphics. Here's the Ducks lineup tonight. This top line, they got going against the Anaheim Ducks or against the Arizona Coyotes, and the Ducks will certainly need them again tonight. Trevor Zegras, another beautiful lacrosse-style goal. Unreal what that guy can do. Troy Terry on the right side, Sonny Milano on the left side. The second line, Adam Henrique with Maxime Comtois and Gerald Mayhew. Isaac Lundstrom with Zach Aston Reese and Derek Grant. Sam Carrick with Sam Steele, Sherwood Park product, and Dominic Simone is the Ducks' fourth line. The D pairings for Anaheim are Fowler with Drysdale, Urho Vakanainen, who they got in that deal for Lindholm with the Bruins. Kevin Shattenkirk's on the right side. Josh Mahura, he's a St. Albert product. He's got Andre Suster on his right side on that third pairing. And again, we're expecting John Gibson between the pipes, but nothing confirmed out of Anaheim yet. Injuries really racking up for the Anaheim Ducks. They're going to be without Max Jones, Jacob Silverberg, and Ryan Getzlaf, so they're missing 3 important forwards for this hockey game as well. Again, you can just see from those graphics that the Ducks' depth is not there. This is not the team that they were even earlier this season when it looked like they might be able to push for a playoff spot as well. So, not a great Ducks team. The Oilers should be able to handle this one.
All right, and how about for the Edmonton Oilers?
Well, we are going to see at least one change because, again, this is a road game, and that means Josh Archibald cannot be in the lineup. But I have a funny feeling Jay Woodcroft might keep things fairly consistent for the Oilers outside of that. The top 6 was actually pretty good for Edmonton last game, just looking at their numbers here. The top line outshot the Blues 13-10 at 5-on-5. The second line with Draisaitl, Hyman, Yamamoto, it outshot the Blues 10-9 at 5-on-5. So pretty good there. I liked the look of the third line that we see there with Brassard, Nuge, and Cassian. So wouldn't be surprised if they stay together. And the fourth line, the simple move would probably just be to put in a guy like Derek Ryan, since Josh Archibald is staying back in Edmonton, and running McLeod, Fogle, Ryan as your fourth line. Fogel's a guy, we've talked about him before. I think the Oilers need a lot more from them. He took a really stupid penalty in that last game against St. Louis. You can't have your fourth line left winger taking penalties 180 feet from your own net. D pairings, probably going to be the same again. Nurse, Ceci, Kulak, Barry, Keith, and Bouchard. And we are expecting Mikko Koskinen to get the start between the pipes. Again, nothing quite confirmed there from the Oilers on starting goaltending, but I really can't see them going back to Mike Smith tonight.
I mean, I don't even want to say that. We'll see. We'll see Twitter erupt if it's one way or the other.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, Tyler, where are you putting your money? I have a feeling that we are probably the favorites in this matchup.
Yeah, the Oilers are really big favorites in this hockey game against the Ducks. Minus 216 on the money line, minus 136 in regulation. And if you like them on the puck line, plus 115. I like that spot. Like I said, Ducks, although as of late they've gotten a little bit better defensively, they still have not been very good over the last 12, 13 games. So I also like taking the Oilers team total here. It's set at a total of 4. It is paying out plus 115. I think whether you're taking puck line or whether you are taking the Oilers to win this game, to score 4 or more, both of those seem like pretty solid bets. I also kind of like the Oilers to win the first period. It's paying out plus 115 there as well. Oilers to score goals. How about this? Is tonight going to be the night we get Leon Draisaitl at 50? Austin Matthews did it the other day. He's leading the race now. We need a big response from Leon. He's minus 127 to score. Caroline, are we getting Leon?
I think it's so funny because I have to I imagine after every single time the Oilers play, Matthews is checking if Dry scored and vice versa. Like, that there's this competition going on, and every single time one of them scores, the other one does. So we didn't get that goal from Draisaitl against the Blues, but I have a feeling he's going to score tonight. Like, it's just so entertaining to watch. And I'm not even just saying that as someone who watches the Leafs and watches the Oilers, but I feel like it's got to be for NHL fans across the league.
Yeah, I think it's unreal. I'm just reading here. The Twitch chat's going nuts. Mistaken Mexican wants Leon to hit 50. Electronic Jordan wants the Oilers to win 7-2 tonight. Ton of chat about, maybe we even get a Draisaitl hat trick, which is paying 10.5 to 1, which is insane that a guy's only 10.5 to 1 to get a hat trick in a game. But you never know. The Oilers, hey, maybe Leon does it on the power play. I'm just looking here. Leon to score a power play goal in this one, I think is like plus 275. So if he's going to get it, power play seems like a pretty safe bet. I know Matthews did his with the empty netters. Maybe Draisaitl finds a way to do it in a little bit more style.
I encourage both of them to go lights out every single game because it's so exciting to watch and they're so neck and neck. And we all know the conversation always between Matthews and Draisaitl. So I think it's just so entertaining as a hockey fan to just keep up with both of them.
I think it's fantastic for the sport. Like I was joking the other day on Daily Faceoff that, it's kind of like back in the 90s when there was that big home run race in the MLB between McGuire and Sosa. And I think, obviously we're 20 some years away, different sport, all that. But I think it's good when you get eyeballs on the sport in a good goal scoring race. Like that's the sexiest part of hockey, right? Scoring goals. So get these guys who are running up these crazy numbers and going head to head right till the last game of the year. I think it's fantastic for hockey.
I could not agree more. All right. Anything else going on in your chat, Tyler?
No, just a ton of Leon 50 talk. And I got a sneak peek. I don't know if we've teased it anywhere, but I got the sneak peek of what this year's Leon 50 goal t-shirt will look like. And I think it might be one of our best selling shirts ever. Kennedy did an unreal job with this thing. It's going to be awesome. So I would love to see us release this thing on a nice, beautiful Sunday afternoon. The vibes are good. I want people to get a look at this shirt.
I also am really looking forward to the graphic that Kennedy has ready for Leon's 50th goal for the Leon, you hot B.
Leon, you hot bitch. Yes, it's unreal. That's one of my favorite jokes going online. Like Kennedy is a genius. The shirt is great. The jokes are great. I love it.
She's actually incredible. Every single one that she puts out, I crack up laughing. Like they are just so smart. All right. Yeah. A lot of Leon comments in mine. A lot of people saying that Smith is a good teammate, mentally tough, but as we get older, our bodies don't always do what we want or need them to, unless you are Tom Brady, of course. Yeah. But that is a valid point. So I don't know, Tyler, I feel like this has been a pretty good pregame show. We've covered everything. We recapped, we've previewed, and I think now it's just enjoying our Sunday, enjoying the sunshine, and getting ready for a good game against the Ducks.
Yeah, last thing I want to plug, 4:30 this evening on CBC, the University of Alberta Golden Bears are going for a national title. Former Oilers assistant coach Ian Herbers leads them behind the bench, and Noah Philp plays for that team. Ken Holland was scouting him pretty hard towards the end of the Golden Bears regular season, so tune in, 4:30 on CBC. University of Alberta Golden Bears going for a national title tonight. It should be a lot of fun. Should be a good night of hockey.
Are you covering that at all, Tyler?
Not really covering it. I'm just watching it. It's out in Halifax, so a little bit too far away for me to be in the rink. I wish I was there.
I didn't know if you were doing anything broadcast or online or anything, because I know you do everything. I know your hands in a lot of different pots.
Yeah, I wish, but I'll be here rooting on the Golden Bears because that is a hell of a hockey team. They're an absolute wagon this year, so go Golden Bears.
Awesome stuff. All right, everyone. This has been your Giant pregame show presented by Sherwood Ford. Tyler, Caroline here with you guys, and enjoy the game.